I'm Keith Stelling. I'm living near a proposed wind turbine development, and I've done a lot of research on the birds that will be affected in our area and on the actual viability of the wind turbines. Ontario prides itself on its biodiversity, but the latest provincial budget is very bad news for these species. Buried obscurely in the budget bill number 55 are no less than 69 amendments to existing provincial legislation. On April the 10th, Gord Miller, the Environmental Commissioner for Ontario, noted that many of the laws administered by the Ministry of Natural Resources are proposed to be amended. They include the Endangered Species Act, the Provincial Parks and Conservation Act, the Fish and Wildlife Conservation Act, and the Niagara Escarpment Planning and Development Act. The government has packed them into the budget bill to avoid transparency and the normal public consultation process under the Environmental Registry. The amendment to the Endangered Species Act is particularly disturbing. Under Schedule 19, the Minister now has the power to exempt developers from prohibitions against killing, harming, and harassing species at risk or destroying their habitat. The Minister can now give exemptions to developers of communication systems, electrical power systems, oil and gas pipelines, renewable energy systems, transportation corridors, and waste management systems, among others. The industry claims that it no longer sites wind turbines near sensitive wildlife habitats. Yet wind projects are planned for Ostrander Point, where the whippoorwill and Blandings turtle are threatened by road building and habitat disturbance, Arran Lake, Point Pelee National Park, Manitoulin Island, and the coastal wetlands associated with Lakes Erie, Lake St. Clair, and Lake Ontario. Normally, all of these amendments to acts which are already in existence and have been since 2000, some of them, would be separately dealt with in the legislature. And the government has put through an omnibus bill and has clumped so many amendments together, and if you actually go online and look at the budget bill, you'll have a hard time finding what's actually in all these schedules, because the introduction to the budget bill says what a great budget this is and how we're pushing Ontario forward, and this budget is all about financial problems. But in fact, it's not. These things are very, very much hidden and beyond the normal requirement for public transparency. So normally under the EBR, that's the Environment Bill of Rights, people have a chance to think about this for 30 days or so and to submit complaints to the Environmental Registry. But this is not allowed to happen under a budget bill. And that's why it's very distressing, because the people who have made these amendments are obviously people who have corporate interests in changing the laws in Ontario. It's very underhanded, it's surreptitious, and it's bad government. Biologists in Europe who have been studying the problem for the last 20 years, we have evidence that these things should not be placed within 10 or 20 miles of migratory corridors, and yet we persist in doing this. We're wiping out those precious habitats that remain in Ontario. We've already lost 85% of our wetlands through development and through building roads and building houses and just moving in onto areas that were originally the homes of these endangered species. Every genuine environmentalist, conservationist, nature lover, and advocate of Ontario's biodiversity will be outraged at this underhanded development. Please let every MPP know you are unwilling to accept this regressive amendment to the Endangered Species Act.